Right then folks, this is what we're going to be building today. There's the circuit diagram here and the little board that's going to have the component parts on, of which we are going to have a go at building today. There's a few of the components that we need, and it's a flashing LED unit. Well, I suppose I better start putting stuff on the table. We've got our circuit diagram. Well, we need something to solder with. We need some electricity to use as well. So I suppose I'd also unplug that. That's not what to. That's for another amateur radio that I've got here somewhere. Right, get rid of that. Behave. Anyway, my name is G7KTE. If you have been watching any of my streams lately, you will no doubt know a little bit about me if you've looked me up on qrz.com. And I hope all this audio is coming out okay. Right, one soldering station, ideal for doing a little bit of soldering, I hope. Says I. Oh dear, where's that leak gone? Thank goodness, this is the one. This is the one, I think. Oh dear. Now all this is going to be edited, I hope, and I hope the audio comes out all right. Well, we want some tools. So what we want is probably one of these, that might help. I'm not saying I'm going to use it, I just might have to. Want one of those long nose pliers. I don't know whether the camera's catching them things or not. And a pair of side cutters. And a circuit board with some component parts. And the rest of the kit, plus a little bit that I'm going to borrow off here. I want to have the LEDs not connected to the board. I want to mount them on the end of a piece of wire so I can move them into position when the board is in position. I'll explain this as we go on in the video on what my intentions are. Now let's see how this is. See if this is working okay. We've got a 413 degrees C at the moment. So just tin in the iron before I start. Got that sorted out. And I think I need to get myself in a better position, so I'm just going to move out of shot and back in shot. Right, now this video is definitely going to be edited, so I don't really need to see this, because there is the little circuit board with all the little holes already on, supplied by the company where I bought this from. And you know what, I've had this for years and I've never made it, and I don't know why, but there we are. There's where all the bits and pieces go. So we're going to build this up nice and slow and steady, and we'll see how things go, shall we? Let's have a go. Been a while, I tell you, it's been a while. So I think we'll start off by clambering a couple of resistors on the board. So we've got resistor 1 as 1K. 1K is an orange. No. Yeah, 1K is orange, if I remember rightly. Red is 1K. Sorry. Red is 1K and orange is 10K. So we'll get the 1K resistors in place, linking to the diode. So I'll put resistor 1 on first, see where that goes here, like this. Got a big very tight end. The idea of the long nose pliers is so that you can bend a 45-degree right angle, straightening up your component parts as necessary, and push that down into place. So we need 2 of these, so we need the resistor 2, which is 1K. 1K, 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 1K. Trying to keep all the resistors the right way around. I always like to do that, by the way. It makes it easier to follow a would-be pattern that you are developing on the board. So, legs on there are a little bit bent, I'll straighten them up. I've got that right. You'll see what I mean in a minute. I will endeavour to show you this. Endeavour, there's a nice word. Well, there's two on the board at the moment. Sure. They're not soldered on yet, but we're going to do that in a second. Okay. Of course, there's no zooming in on this because this is all done on a mobile telephone, so I can't zoom in, and hopefully that's nicely done. That one. And that one. And that one. There we are. Now, I'm not going to jump. I'm not going to go ape on all this and say, well, this is how it starts and this is the finish. No, I'm not doing that. So there we are. There is, it's not quite focused because it's trying to focus on other things, my camera. So there we are. The two oranges are at the bottom, so you can read what it is straight away. Now what we will try to do now is put on the 10k, that's resistor 3 and resistor 4. They've got to be colour coded correctly, and so that they go down onto the board properly and the colour is the right way round. Because if all the colours are the right way round, then when you come to read a resistor that's on a board, if you've got to keep on searching for the colours, then that, to me, that isn't right. That's just my way of doing things, but trial and error, of course. Everybody has their own way of doing things, I'm afraid, and this is my way. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, it's beside the point. It's still my way of doing it. I don't know, I might be wrong. So we've got the red bit in the same place as the other red bit and the orange bit. Although they are both brown, black, red, brown, black, orange. Now there we have brown, black, red here in here. That's the 10k ohm resistor. So I'm going to turn that over and make sure I'm going to solder that to the board. Slightly under them. So make sure that the solder doesn't run onto the other. Now, another thing that I was taught back along some years ago is when you're soldering on component parts, bring the soldering iron, I can show you this, up the leg that you're soldering. So the leg that you're soldering gets soldered up the leg and then on the board, and that makes a very good connection to the board. Yeah, and it also can help stopping the solder going funny in later days. Just bring the iron gently up the component part that you're soldering onto the board, and take off all 4 legs that are not wanted. Right, now that's then done. Now I think the next thing to be putting on the board, or the last thing, has got to be the 2 transistors. They're both the same, so it doesn't really matter. So the next thing to put on the board, I should imagine, would be the 2 variable resistors. 200. These will probably help with the voltage, because to make them variable they need to have a variable pot, to make the flashing LED flash either fast or slow. So what I'm doing here now is I'm bending over one of the little legs. No, bend over, so I might say there's one there doesn't really need soldering. I'm going to solder it anyway, because that's just dead in the water, that one. Right, that's that one. Still, I haven't got my helping hands here. I have got some, but right. So that's that on the board. Now it's the other one. I'm going to put that on the same way, just so it doesn't fall off. I'll bend the little leg over a little bit. Another thing I used to use a lot when I was making lots of boards would be a small sponge in a little pool of water to help to keep. It'll only be moist, it wouldn't be soaking wet. So that would help to keep the component parts cool when you're soldering them into place. Now some component parts you can burn and then they won't work. So you've got to be very careful when you're doing this sort of thing. So another thing you've got to watch out for is the camera on the equipment that you're using doesn't fade and turn itself off. So there we are, 414 degrees, and it's soldering away lovely here. There's two capacitors, electrolytic, running at I think they're 16 volts, so 9, 16 or 9 volt capacity. It'll tell me on memory in a minute. And also they are positive and a negative. Now the negative side on a capacitor and also a diode is the short leg. It's the shorter leg of the two legs. So there we have I know most of you guys that are watching this probably know anyway. So we'll put that one on the board first. I'll solder that one in place. Long leg positive. Positive side of the board. When I'm using the keyboard on the laptop or my computer here behind me, when I'm using either of those, I sort of go very quiet. That's because my mind is concentrating on what I'm doing, and it's the same as what I was just doing here. So because my mind was, oops, that's led off somewhere. Never mind. And we'll take out the next component. There's not many components to this, but I've been toying with the idea of making this build for quite a long time. So we got negative, positive in the right places. I've even got a battery for this thing. Whoa, Jubilee. Still, there we are. I'll show you my soldering station in a minute. Nice it is. I like things to be just right. Now there you can see my colour coding on that board. I can't zoom in and I can't, oh I can with my other hand, I can't move my other arm very well. So there we are. See what I mean about the colour coding? The oranges and all that are all sort of in line with one another, but still, there we are. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Now I have 2 transistors now to put on there. And then, would you believe, we're nearly finished. So then there's 2 diodes which are going to be on wire, and the transistors, they've got to have their legs bent into a certain position. Oh no, these are already, I've already bent these. See, sometimes these things come all in line, the 3 are all in line, then you have to bend 1 or 2 to get them to go onto the board properly. Let's see if that has transistor 1. But get it in the hole. There, please get in the hole. There we go. Now we push it down. It's now coming out the other side. Now I know this has got to be the right way around, because the circuit diagram drawing on the other side of the board here is saying that is correct. So when you're soldering, you have to be very, very careful with these sort of things, because they can burn very easily, then they won't work. Then you wonder why your component part, your project isn't working. No, that didn't overheat, so that's okay. I just put my finger on it to see if it overheated, but it didn't. Resistors and that, they can get hot sometimes when you're soldering them on the board. So, right, we've positioned them roughly where they got to be. It won't matter if they're not quite right, because we'll just force it into the hole. Two transistors, another little bit of solder. I wonder how sometimes some people cope when they're doing this sort of thing, when they're soldering things onto a board, or they're making a board up for display purposes, and how they can have the camera on for so long. Well, I think they just must use the power supply. There we are. We just cut these long legs off because we don't want them. There we are. And according to me, I still haven't lost my touch with the soldering iron. Well, there's the thing. There's two holes that's got nothing in, because that doesn't matter because they're sitting under them variable resistors here and here. There's two holes there and there. They're not for any reason other than they're there. And there's two little bits here which takes the positive and negative wire. So for the 9-volt battery, that's this here, would you believe? Of course you would believe. Positive one side. That's just showing its face there. There we go. Nursing the solder. This is where helping hands help, I can assure you. If you haven't got them on hand because they've been locked away somewhere and you're not quite sure where because you moved house, or if you know where it is, I suggest you get them at this point. Oh dear. Well, there we are. Now, what I was saying a few minutes ago about your positive and negative goes the same with diodes, electrolytic capacitors and diodes. Some diodes, excluding these light emitting ones, I've got a silver marking, especially the black ones. They have a silver marking around them, and that, if I'm not mistaken, is the positive end. Then if you are making up a bridge rectifier, we're using 4 of that particular type of diode. They all have to match up going around that diode, and then there's a center feed point from the 2 center parts of the diodes in circuit. So one has the voltage coming in as AC and the other has the voltage going out as DC. That's a full rectifier. So there we are. So I am not going to solder these on the board. I'm going to solder some wire onto the board, because these I want to go somewhere else. As I was saying earlier, I would like these to go in the nose of a dragon. Now that might be electrifying. When the dragon's lit up when somebody walks in, these will be in the dragon's nose and they'll be flashing all the time. So there's no on and off switch. I could build in an on off switch if I wanted to, but there's no on off switch at the moment. But as I say, I can easily put one in on the red lead or on the black lead, on either one of those two. and take it from there. But I'm not really bothered about having it switching at the moment. So there we are. We'll put these in place. Doesn't matter if they're the wrong way around because they're not staying in here. This is just to show you what the finished article would look like if I'd soldered them on the board. So there we are. So the other side of the board, there we are. Now, as I say, that the LEDs are not soldered on the board because I want to hardwire them so I can move them into position, because being on the board like this will not marry up to where I want them to be. So that's the project done. Oh, well, I said I was going to show you my soldering station, didn't I? There we have. It's only a small thing. It's not very expensive, very inexpensive, very small, very compact, soldering iron, deburring the solder off the iron in the, and this one comes with a lot of different tips, all according to what you're doing. If you're making a board up, you need a fine tip like the one I've been using. If you're desoldering a board, you probably need a slightly bigger one, but it's up to you, the user, at the end. Right, we'll turn that off, so that's going to cool down, won't take long. I'm happy about that, and I hope you guys happy and enjoyed watching my video here.